Sometimes you can be really motivated in your photography, and other times that motivation just isn't there. But it is just a case of getting out there and doing it. And wherever I am in the world, I'll make sure I've got all of my camera kit in my bag and have a few ideas of where to take photographs. Basically, the more prepared you are, the more likely you are to go out. And this means having all of your kit ready to go. And I'm talking about memory cards, batteries, and everything. All ready to go. So literally, you just grab your bag and go. Now this basically comes down to forming habits. If you form a habit of going out and taking photographs, you're more likely to go out and do it more often. If you don't form a habit, every time you go out with your camera, it'll feel like you're going out of your comfort zone. So make a habit of going out with your camera. You'll learn all about the settings, and you'll also raise your odds of getting good conditions. It's not looking too promising to the west, but I'm hoping the sun will find a gap and shine through. Path up there. And also, the more you go out, the less likely you'll get lost. Now, the next thing you can do to get motivated is to start a project. Your project could be anything from waterfalls, landscapes, seascapes, no matter what. Now, in setting yourself projects, you're kind of giving yourself a subject to shoot. And whenever you see that subject, you'll get a little bit motivated to take a photograph of it. If you've got your camera in your bag, or tucked under the chair in your car, or just with you, you will get a shot of it, and you'll practice photography. Yep, no going that way. Definitely not convinced about those clouds. They look like they're in, and they look like they're building. Now I'm here at Lulworth Cove, and this is a natural harbour on the south coast of England. It's fantastic because you've got these harder strips of rock, and the water has eroded through those and then eroded into the softer rock behind it. And it causes this big arc of a bay. But I'm out, I'm using my camera, and I'm just getting to know those settings and getting to know this area as well as the light and how it interacts with the landscape. Now, if you're thinking, why do the conditions never play in my favour? You're not alone, and this is proof to that. Sometimes you'll go out, the conditions will look great, the weather forecast will look fantastic, and this will happen. There's no getting around it, and it's all part of landscape photography. But then it's dealing with those conditions that's the key to still getting an okay shot. This bay is super wide. I've got the 15mm on, and the bay is only just about fitting in the frame. So I think I might have to shoot a pano. I'll take a photo of it and show you what I mean. F8, 1/100th, 100. So you can see from that shot, it's a super wide bit of water. Now with this light coming through the clouds, or hopefully with this light coming through the clouds, it could fleetingly come through the scene and then go again. So I think I'm going to stick with a 15 instead of doing a pano. I could quickly switch it to the landscape orientation and get a pano, and I'll set the tripod up just for that. Basically, I'm going to level off the base of the tripod so I can rotate the camera around if needed. Now, while I'm waiting for that elusive light to come through, think back to when you first started photography, when you first picked up that camera, and then when you first got that bug. This is a great way to get motivated, and it'll reignite the passion that you had when you first started. Sometimes people talk down to hobbyists or talk down to part-time photographers, but I see this as a fantastic time to be a photographer, because it's when you've got so much passion for photography and you want to get out there and do it. So think back to that first time that you really got hooked on photography, and this will really help with your motivation. That cloud is just in the wrong place. You probably can't see it on that, but if I drop the exposure down. Look at that cloud. The sun is around about here, hoping it will come out of this gap here, but I'm not too convinced. If I'm at a location and the conditions aren't good, I'll just play around with different things. I'll shoot a pano, long exposures, short exposures. I'll shoot with a fast shutter speed, a slow shutter speed, a wider aperture, a smaller aperture. I'll just kind of get to know my camera. So that's going to be a super wide pano. I'm not sure if I'm going to get vignetting on this lens because there's no profile in Lightroom for the Nissi, which is really annoying. So Nissi, if you're watching, make a profile for your lens. So it's 7:15, sunset is at 8:10. I'm going to look at the AR function. I'm not so sure about this. That huge lump of cloud getting in the way. That light has finally come. Yes. So, gonna very quickly get a pano. And this is what I mean about waiting for those moments. You sit around and wait and wait and wait, and then all of a sudden it happened. I had the drone up in the air, taking some photographs and doing some videos, and all of a sudden this light came through. Now, in another video, I talked about planning for the moments. This is one of those moments. The lights come and it's fading away really quickly. So I'm just going to do a long exposure. It's hitting the land over there, it's hitting this. Not quite hitting the other side, but we might get some nice clouds flowing through as well. How are we done? I think I've got a shot, but I'm not going to touch the camera until it's finished the final image. There we go. And that light's gone again. That shows how quickly the light can come and go. Makes it all exciting though. But now I think I'm going to go to that headland and look up this way. Hopefully we can get that really nice sky in the background looking back on the bay. Again, I'm probably going to have to shoot it wide because this bay is so wide. Now this might seem counterintuitive, but if you're not really feeling motivated to take photographs, don't worry about it. Leave your camera at home, go for a walk, and just enjoy the countryside. I did this recently with my wife, and I got so many creative ideas while I was on that walk, and it was a bit of a breath of fresh air. Then the next time I went out, I really wanted to take my camera with me, and I got some really nice shots, or some shots that I really like anyway. No, it's not that way, it's this way. Whoa. Got there in the end. Woo. So, I'm down on the point now, and the light has pretty much gone altogether, hiding behind the clouds. There's still 10 minutes to sunset, but it's just not happening. These clouds might get lit from underneath, but I doubt it. Still gonna get a photo from here, probably do a long exposure, just nice to be out. And I'm so glad I stayed up there to get that little bit of light that was hitting this. Although from here, it probably would have looked pretty amazing with that sunlight in the shot. But maybe next time I come here, I'll take a sunset from this location. Let's have a look at that first. I've gone to places and I've gotten so stressed because I wanted to get that perfect photo. What you'll find is whenever you go to a location and you get the photos back onto your computer, you'll find that sometimes you'll just think, oh, if I stood 5-10 meters to the left or 5 or 10 meters to the right, it would have been perfect. So always know that there's a better photograph out there, and don't worry too much about being perfect. It's about learning the craft. It's about enjoying the experience of being out and taking photographs. That's the way I look at it. And ever since I have looked at it like that, I've enjoyed it so much more. I've been so much more motivated as well. So now I'm coming into the blue hour. I'm going to do one super long exposure of this, big pano again, and then I'm going to head home. So we're doing 2.5, 5 and 10-second exposures. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, the water's moving, you'll get differences between the 3 different images, but I don't mind. Lightroom deals with it. All of the editing programs do such a good job that I just kind of leave it to it. There we go, that one's done. I really like the reflections on this bay, and because the bay is arced and it's a small gap, you get that propagation of the waves coming out, or in this case, the ripples, but you get a nice arc in the bay as well. So hopefully that'll come through. If it doesn't come through in the long exposure shot that I took, hopefully it'll come through in the short exposure shot that I took. Now, if you're curious about shooting panoramas but don't know exactly how to do it, click on this video next. They're great fun, they're really easy, and they're well worth learning to shoot.